Hi everyone, I'm going to do a video today about chitting potatoes, sowing some tomatoes and sowing some peas. So I'll try and keep it pretty condensed anyway, because there's other videos on YouTube. I mean, Dan has just done one on chitting potatoes, so you can get a lot of information from that, so I'm not going to dwell too much into it. So seed potatoes arrived about a week ago, so basically kept them in the dark in the coolest place I've got in the house, which is the attic. They have started to sprout a little bit, which kind of helps me a little bit, so make sure you get the right way up. So I've got first earlies, second earlies and main croppers. So I'll just go through what I'm growing this year. So one of them I've changed, I've not grown before. First earlies, Duke of York. I've always done really well with them. Second earlies I've got done loose, and there was a chap at the allotments who grew them last year and had a really good crop off them, so I thought I'll give them a go. Another second early, Mary's Pear, another sort of favourite of mine that's reliable, good cropper. Main croppers, King Edward and Orla. So that's pretty much all I'm going to grow. I might try a few other ones in bags or something as the year goes on, but these are the main ones I'm going to grow this year. First earlies, like I said in my previous video, and by the way, thanks for all the comments. It's nice to know I've still got people watching, so big thank you to you all. So take the top off these. Just some sharp scissors, which obviously like that. There you go. And then what you have in there, now what I can see this is a net full of seed potatoes, which I've bought from JBA again. So, you get your seed potato. One end, it's like a little, usually a little like dangly bit on it, or it'll just have like a single sort of, I don't know how you'd say, it's not an eye, but it's basically like where it came off the mother plant. So you need to go the other end, which is where the eyes be. And in this case it just started to sprout. They're a couple of millimetres long, so that'll help me in a way, as long as you don't let them get massive, because they're no good then. You can rub them off and start them again, but you're wasting time. Now but these came, I ordered these to come at a certain, when I wanted them. Some companies will send them really early, so just keep them as cold as you can, but frost free, you don't want them freezing. If you want to know what they look like, put a spud in the freezer and then pull it out after, and you'll know what I mean. So I like to chit them, for 5-6 weeks really. I don't plan on these really going in till April, or the 1st of April. I mean, you can plant them pretty much beginning to end of April is a good time to plant, depending on your weather in your area. So the eyes need to be up. So I'd just use an egg tray, you can use any sort of tray, as long as they're held up right, you're okay. I mean, you can rub some eyes off, but I tend to do that when I'm going to plant them. I've got odd ones coming out here and there, just rub them off when I plant them. Or if you keep checking them, you can keep rubbing them off if you want. So just go through, quite straightforward. Once you've done chitting once, nothing changes. Like, why do you chit? You don't have to chit. People have different reasons, and I generally just say it wakes the potato up, say it's time to start growing now. You kind of cheat a little bit, you'll get a little bit of growth before you plant it, rather than sticking a spud straight in the ground, knowing if it's going to do okay. Most of the time they will, it's like farmers and that, they don't chit, they just put them in the ground. A lot of people do with main croppers. With first earlies I would chit. So you keep going through this. Any that look a bit dodgy or soft, just get rid of. And I'll keep a check on them. I mean, these are going to go in my shed, right by the shed window. it's pretty frost free. The window's actually south facing, so I'll have to keep an eye out for any really sunny days. They don't get too hot. But, you can lay a bit of fleece over them. I did that last year and it didn't seem to keep the frost off them just fine. It's up to you where you buy the seed potatoes from. You can go to local garden centres and fill up a paper bag yourself with, you know, so many for £1 and that. But they're supposed to have been grown in a controlled environment and be disease free. Now, I don't think anyone can guarantee that, even though some do. Like that one, it's got a darkish area on it, so I'm not going to bother with that one. It might be okay, but I'm not going to take a risk. Basically, the potato is just a little food store for it until it gets going, and these little eyes will end up shooting. They'll dump more roots out, and on the end of them roots will be your new potatoes. So Duke of York I like because you can roast them, chip them. Pretty good all round, to be honest. You know, and they're pretty high yielding. The ones I'm not doing this year that I usually do are International Kidney. I've done them for a couple of years in the past and it's been alright. And Charlottes, I might get some Charlottes and grow them, you know, elsewhere, but so I'm going to give this done loose a go. So that is basically all you have to do to chip your potatoes. Put them somewhere light, frost free, not warm, and just keep a check if it's going to be frosty on there and you think it's going to get a bit too much from either. Cover them over, try and insulate them somehow. I've done it before, I've laid newspaper over for the night just to stop the frost hitting the chits too much, because if it kills them it means starting again. If it freezes the potato, chances are it's not going to work. So just keep them in the light, frost free, and they should be fine. And when your ground's ready, pop them in the ground, which I'll do a video on near the time, which will be, say, it's usually first, second week of April. I put all mine in. So that's basically chitting your potatoes. Right, we're going to do a bit of seed sowing now. There's a few different things. If I get around to sowing all of them, fair dues, but I'm not going to show you the whole thing. I'm just going to show you a bit of each one, just to get a general idea. So I'm going to bring the camera in as close as I can. Background noise, it's started to rain, so you just have to bear with me on this one. Right, we'll get on with that. Right, I'm just going to show you how I usually load my seed trays. I'm not going to be planting this one first, but I'm going to load it up ready. Basically get some compost, nothing fancy. I think I'm using Growshaw Westlands seedling compost. I've just got some vermiculite in it. It does the job. Any big chunks, just try and get them out. You know, have a rummage through your hands, have a bit of a play with it or whatnot. Right, so basically launch some compost in. You know, to see that many people that really forcing it down, you don't really have to. You know, because it makes it hard work for the seedlings to chuck the roots down, and you don't need it. So get it all loaded up. And then just drop it under its own weight. And that should be enough. So if you want to add a little bit more, you can sprinkle another layer on it, just to make sure the top right up. Because this is going to be for the peas, this. You can do them in gutters. I think the ground's just a little bit too cold at the moment, and you know, there's that many odds against you out there, so why not start them in a tray? If you've got somewhere you can keep them, you can put them on a windowsill, you know, but you are better off like slow and steady this time of year with a lot of things. Make sure your compost isn't absolutely freezing cold. You know, try and take it in the house for a little while to get it, you know, sort of roomy. Otherwise it might shock the seeds. So that's how you load it. So I'll put that to one side and we'll get on with the next bit. Doing my tomatoes in this year, I'm going to start them off in little singular trays. I got these from Wilco's, around 70p each I think, and I'll prick them out, which I'll do in a different video. I pretty much sow tomatoes, chilies and peppers the same way. Aubergines will be probably similar. Basically, put a bit of compost in. I mean, you can sieve it out a bit if you want. Depends. Some of the cheaper composts are quite lumpy, you know, so you get what you pay for really. I'm just gonna pass it down. A little bit more. Kind of get it roughly. Like any big lumps, just flick them out of the way that are on the top. So, do a bit of that. Put another tray in here so I don't get water everywhere. And then put it that way. I'm having to look at this upside down, which makes it a lot more tricky. This is where a cameraman comes in handy. Right, do that, and what I do with most of my seedlings, before I even sow them, is I wet that compost. I give it a pretty good wetting up as well. Just let it sink. A bit more on, just let that drain through for a moment. You know, these have got holes in the bottom. You don't want them like sat in water. You know, you see like pots sat in trays that are just absolutely flooded with water. You're best off like having a saucer fill with water and put your pot in it, leave it for a minute or two and then pull it out. It'll take what it needs. You know, it's just so very easy to rot. I'll quickly run through the tomatoes I'm going to grow this year. Alicia Craig, Gardener's Delight, Alicante, a couple of free ones there I'm going to try, Nimbus F1, Black Russian, ever done that before? Let's see what else we got here. Subarctic Plenty, that's one I always do outdoors. Marmande, or Marmande, big beefsteak one. Cherry Roma, and San Marzano. I think the San Marzano, they're a plum tomato. Now also be doing Moneymaker as well when I find seeds, which are around somewhere. Can you see them here? Yeah, these are my own seeds from a couple of years ago, these. So we'll start off with Moneymaker because they're in my hand. Now, you can just broadcast them and spread them, but don't overcrowd them. I mean, you can pull them out as, you know, if there's too many start coming through. But it's better to oversow than limit yourself too much, because not every seed germinates. You do have to allow for errors. And I tend to sow a lot of tomatoes because I sow for family and friends. So I'm just going to space these about an inch apart. Nothing too technical. Just start on the top. Feel a big twig in there somewhere. That's what you don't want, a big lump like that. Fill that all in. wetting that because it'll drag the water out of what's already in there. And then we'll carry on. And you can use them little they're called seeders, where it's like more like a suction syringe. It'll hold the seed for you, but I've tried them, and to be honest, I don't really rate them. So I hope you were counting then, because I weren't. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I will probably do a second sowing in about 2 weeks. Now, I do recommend you try and get a little tiny, I call them a seed sieve. And they're just not the cheapest thing, just a little tiny sieve like this. And then basically, all I'm going to do then, pop that on there. Get a handful of compost and just give them a light covering so I can't see the seeds basically. If you go too much and then just makes it hard work. And you can just put all the tap down to make sure it's all settled down. And then basically all I'll do with that is I'll pop them into a tray and then place a lid over them. And what will happen is the humidity in there will keep the compost damp throughout. It stops it drying out, and this will give them a good start. Now these will be going indoors. I think it's still a bit risky yet to just grow them in a greenhouse, where I live anyway, because there's still a chance of frost yet. So they'll have a few weeks indoors, or I might cheat and put them under a grow light for a while. But if you haven't got indoor space, leave it a few weeks, maybe well into March, or if you're struggling, you can always buy your plants. So that's how I do tomatoes, and peppers. I've actually got some peppers on the go at the moment, but they're in the attic under the lights. They were started off in them, and I've just pricked them out and put them in small pots. So what should we do next? I think we'll do some leeks. I think I've got some leeks already sown, but they're not actually doing the best. So there's no harm in sowing some more. A leek seed, yeah, you bury them a little bit deeper, but the general rule of 2-3 times depth of the seed, thickness of it is deep enough. There's no point. Some of these say bury 13 mil or whatever, and it's a bit of a long way for a small seed. So that's that done. I'll just get my leeks wherever I've put them. Around somewhere. There they are. So these leeks are Musselburgh. I tried a different variety last year and I wasn't happy with it, so I think I did Porvite and Lion, I think they're called. I'm not happy, so I'm going back to Musselburgh. It's not something I've always grown leeks. It's hit and miss whether I do it or not. But I'm thinking this year I'll give these a go, because last year I got plagued with a bit of rust, as did a lot of people really. It was an ideal year for rust. Some people got it a lot later than others. So quite straightforward with leeks. You can take the time and spread them out if you want, but I'm simply going to get a pinch and just scatter them. You can use a big seed tray for this, but I mean I don't want too many leeks. That'll do for that. Same again with that. Some compost. Flip it over. And just scrape off the excess. And they're probably about 5 or 6 mil deep then. Just pat it down. And what I'm going to do with these, just to make sure I'm just going to lightly put that on there. Just tap it. That just helps it sit all down like that. Not pressed, just tapped. And then I won't water these again until they start coming through. Because sometimes you think, oh, they're not coming through, I'll add more water, and all you're doing is actually rotting the seed. So I'll pop that there. Another important thing I sometimes get carried away and forget about is the labels. Make sure you label your stuff. Because before, I've done it many times, I'm sure a lot of other people have, is you've sown a load of seeds in the trays and you think, oh, I can't remember what's where now. So it's good practice to do it as you go, really. So I'm just going to write leek on this. I'm not going to write the variety because I know what variety I'm growing this year. Sometimes I keep a note of whatever I've grown that year in a pad. So they're labelled. I'll do my tomatoes. The money maker. I'll do them now actually before I forget. Sorry about the background noise, there's a bit of building work going on. So, people who've watched my videos before, sometimes I get an appearance from the ice cream man doing his do like to be beside the seaside. Well, it's a bit annoying. Right, so we'll go back to these peas now. Let's get rid of the compost. Of it. So just make sure you can see what's going on. All I'm going to do is I'm going to put my thumb, so far up the pencil. You could say if you wanted to, like 10-15 mil, and then just basically just push, make a little hole. All this is really is like a little pilot hole, really, to get the pea to go down, so it doesn't tend to scoot off one way when you press it in. Go along, do that. I did say I wasn't going to show you all this, but I'm not going to do all my tomatoes. I think there's 10 varieties, there's no point in you seeing me sow 80 tomato seeds. No point at all. Right, so do that, and what I tend to prefer doing is pre-soak my seeds in water. It just helps them, otherwise you have to really wet this up and then you think, is it rotted or not? So these could have done with soaking a bit longer. Some people say overnight, but I think it's a little bit too long. I think 2 or 3 hours is enough. And don't soak the full packet. I mean, you kind of have a rough count. You don't have to count it exactly, but somewhere near, and then just get your seed, and where you pop your roll, just set the seed on top. Like so. Now these are Feltman first, these peas, so they're an early pea, so they can cope with the cold. I think there's another one, is it Calvin Wonder? That's another earlyish one, but I've always done better with Felton first, to be honest. So I think this is about mid 7th year that I've grown Felton first. And by the time you're harvesting these, you're putting in sort of main season ones, which for me is always going to be Hurst green shaft. I have grown on wood before now, and they're another good one, but Hurst green shaft, brilliant. You know, and you can sow them in the ground. You know, if you live in a warmer climate, fine, put them direct in the ground. I don't bother with that 5 dice, dropping the peas like that, just a good scattering. You can always thin out later. To do that, then just get your pencil or whatever you want and just make sure they're nestled down, you know, a good centimetre below the surface, at least that. You know, because you want the roots to go down, you don't want the pea getting pushed out. You know, and don't expect miracles, you know, straight away this time of year. These will just stay out here in the polytunnel. You know, if you put them indoors, I mean, you can put them indoors for a few days if you want to, and then harden them off as they're germinating, but you tend to do fine outside. You know, they might take a couple of weeks before they pop through, but at least they're fairly hard then. You know, and by the time the weather's better outside, it's they're not going to get any shock of anything. So there's 40 of them. Same again, you don't have to sieve these, you can just put compost over the top. But I think the easier you make it for anything to push through, you're giving it a bit more chance. The only reason I didn't pre-water this tray is because I didn't want to be pushing my pencil into a big wet load of slop. So these get watered after. And then just use whatever you've got really. I mean, I'm just going to use one of these trays here and just smear it about to get rid of the excess. I'm just patting it down top. Pop this out of the way for a second. And then give these good old water. Don't water them like heavy as hell first time round. You know, you can always go over it, wait a couple of seconds, you know, and let that start sinking down, and then go over it again. Because these will need a fair bit of moisture to make them swell and split and actually the peas shoot out. So when you've got free draining compost and holes in your tray underneath, it can any excess can drip away. And same again, I won't water these again until they're through, unless if they start looking really dry. You know it's when it's wet because it starts to feel quite heavy. Right, so that's peas, leeks, tomatoes, and the seed potatoes done. I'm going to carry on sowing some more of these tomatoes. That's about it till the next video. So I hope you know, pick some up from this video. I mean, a lot of people will already know this, but there's always new people coming into the gardening. It's handy for them to be able to find the information rather than having too many failures and then just giving up. You know, because there are always failures, no matter how long you've been doing it. Well, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. See you now. Bye.